Sometimes we look at a fast growing franchisee and we only see the headline numbers, like locations or revenue, global footprint. We do not always see the 17-year-old kid in a small tutoring room who just wanted one student to feel smarter walking out than they did walking in. Today, we are going to pull that story apart, listeners. Welcome back to This Blend. I am Sana, and in this episode, we are talking about a big question. How do you grow a fast moving franchise worldwide without losing the soul of the original idea? My guest, Michael Black, is the founder of Success Tutoring. At 17, he started a small tutoring center with a simple mission: help students lift their grades, but also their confidence and their mindset. By 26, he has turned that into a multi-million-dollar tutoring empire with centers across Australia, New Zealand, and Texas, an expansion on the way into Canada, Singapore, and UK. Well, listeners, Michael is also the author of Millionaire Tutor: Escape Your Soul Crushing 9 to 5 by Building an Outrageously Profitable Tutoring Business. He speaks a lot about freedom, impact, and also building a business he can actually believe in. But with speed, listeners, comes pressure. With scale comes risk. With outrageously profitable comes hard questions. So, today we are going to talk about what it really takes to grow a franchise fast, the trade offs, the systems, the people you say yes to, and the ones you should not. So, all right, let's get into it. And Michael, welcome to this blend. And I'm really, really honored to have you here.
Thank you very much, Sana. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to talking with you all things franchising, success tutoring, and international expansion.
Superb, superb. But before that, even Michael, 17. I mean, if I look back at myself at that time, I didn't even know what I would be doing in the future, not even in the present. I mean, it's really, really inspiring. At just 17, I mean, you saw a dream and you worked hard, you worked smart, and it came to fruition. So first of all, congratulations to you for that. And let's start at the core. So a lot of people, they open one tutoring center, but I see hardly cases or examples where very few turn it into global franchise. So what did you design differently in those first few years that made Success Tutoring something other people could actually franchise?
Yeah, well, thank you very much, and looking forward to sharing a bit about my story. Well, Success Tutoring started with a mission, and that mission is very simple: is to help kids in both English and maths. And as the business grew, the mission became bigger and bigger and bigger, and I kept going, and the business continued to grow, and it is where it is today because of that persistence. Because when I started Success Tutoring, I started in a spare room in my parents' home. It was a 2 meter by 3 meter room, not a very large room. And that's where the tutoring began. And I hired a few people from my school, and I had graduated from secondary school. And they tutored all the maths, and I did the English and some of the HSIE subjects. And we went through the very basic goal, which is to get very good results for the students. And quickly, the business actually grew, and we found that there was more and more students that we can empower. And and as the business grew, I continued to invest in it. It's kind of like a plant. When you keep watering the plant continues to grow. And when you give it attention, it continues to grow. So that's kind of what happened with the business. Um, I'm 26 now. I've been doing it for close to about 9 years now, and I think there's no such thing as overnight success. Does take many, many years, but I think it's the main reason for the success is because of the persistence, and and not backing down, and just keep going, and continue to water the plant, which has resulted in the success of the business.
That's very well put, Michael, and it is actually inspiring. Yeah. And also, I do have some experience working in the edtech industry. And I've kind of seen how there have been so many examples, where many of the edtech ventures, they also tried to aggressively scale globally. And this was, um, around the pandemic, where there was a huge spike and huge demand for edtech. But then they completely crashed down. So, when we connect education or tutoring with profit or business or numbers, I think there will be a lot of skepticism as well around it. So, um, have you have had any kind of pushback, in terms of when you actually decided to go ahead and get this going for scaling or expanding?
Well, when I started with a very simple mission, is to help students do well in English and maths. And as the business grew, I put more effort and time into it, and then it continued to grow. And I think one advantage that which a lot of people might think it's a bit counterintuitive what I'm about to say, but basically because the business didn't have any investors, and it was bootstrapped, it kind of forced me to focus on taking step by step and not jumping steps, because when you jump steps, sometimes you skip the foundations. And when I grew the business and I continue to grow it today, I continue to make mistakes and I continue to learn from those mistakes. And I think sometimes, if a business has a lot of cash that it can continue to invest, like for example, if they've got a lot of cash from investors, sometimes they can skip steps potentially, and that can result in scaling that is not sustainable. But I believe with the fact that we were able to build step by step, brick by brick, building the foundation and then building on top of that, it's really allowed us to build a model that is, I hope, will stand the test of time. And that's basically because we're taking it step by step. It's like trying to go up a very big mountain. In order to get to the top, you don't run, you need to take each step as it comes, because sometimes you might need to take a break at one step and drink a little bit of water, and then you keep going up. So that's the sort of idea that we've taken. And we have a goal to reach the top of the mountain, of course, but we're certainly not going to be running up the mountain. We're gonna take step by step.
Oh my goodness. This is something that I so much connect with, Michael. It doesn't mean that, we are dismissing that, investment or investors, you shouldn't go or maybe, pursue that. But I think something that has my whole passion, my whole energy invested into it, and I actually genuinely, authentically wanted to grow with bootstrapping. I think, we can explore both the sides of the coin, where you have that, kind of a weight, or I shouldn't say pressure, but there's this fire within you that, you have to keep growing it, because, you're not going behind any kind of investment here. So you have to be very mindful, you have to be very careful in terms of what actions you're taking, what decisions you're making. And then on the other end, I think it also helps you be focused behind the actual vision, not just running behind the numbers, but the actual vision. Because sometimes in the pursuit of profits and numbers, there have been instances, where a founder completely loses their own vision, behind getting that idea and making it to fruition. So I absolutely connect with you and agree with you on that.
I think it's focusing on customer as well. Jeff Bezos, one of the all time one of the most successful businessmen of the century, he says, focus on the customer. And for such a successful individual, that has made Amazon very successful, I think that's very powerful because when you're a CEO of a large company like Amazon, there are so many priorities you have. You have so many key stakeholders like investors, like the executives, like, customers. There's so many stakeholders. But what he says is focus on the customer. And I wholeheartedly agree with that because when you focus on the customer at the end of the day is what keeps the business running, allows the business to grow, and that's at the end of the day what pays the wages of all the staff. So
Mhm.
that's what we've been focused on. We focus on the customer. We're always focusing on improving and making sure that our franchise partners are continuously growing, and also our students and parents are satisfied with the service that we're offering.
Absolutely. Customer obsession. Absolutely. Universal. Okay. Now, I'm just going to make it more focused on the franchise aspect here. Now, there's this, like like a debate or maybe this discussion on speed versus structure when it comes to fast moving franchise. Now, everyone loves the phrase, fast growing franchise, but in practical terms, inside your business, Michael, what does fast actually look like? Like, is it the number of locations per year? Or payback period for franchisees or speed of onboarding? Like, are there any metrics that you follow?
Yeah, well, when you think of a fast-growing franchise, there are many things, and with more locations, of course, comes more students and more franchise partners and more revenue, and these things happen. And in terms of payback period, these things typically when you look at the speed, the payback usually takes a certain number of time. There are some things you can go fast in, but there's some things that do take time. So, for example, when you set up a business, you would always expect for the payback to take some time. Just like, when I first started the business, the payback took me 8 months to get the first customer. Of course, it doesn't take franchise partners 8 months to get their first customer now. But that's what it took me initially. And so with any business, there is obviously a return on investment, and that does take time. When we look at speed, we look at go-to-market strategy, and we look at how quickly we can expand into a new area, and not just expand in a new area, but also provide support to the franchise partners in that particular area. So, for example, we're expanding right now into Texas in the USA. We're focusing on the USA. We're focusing on Texas. We're not diverting and trying to focus on maybe 5 or 6 states in the US. We're focusing on one state. And that's what allows us to provide sustainable support to the franchise partners in Texas, as an example. Because for us as a franchisor, we want to make sure that all of the locations are successful, the franchise partners feel supported, and that the business can grow sustainably. Because if we've only got one location in, let's say, one city, that is not profitable for the franchise partner, and it's not profitable for us because we have seen statistics which show that the franchise partners that perform really well are the ones that are in areas where there's other franchise partners as well. Because when you grow the brand, it actually improves the customer confidence, and it grows the business overall. So speed, variety of different things, but mainly when it comes to franchising, the speed would revolve around the number of new locations that a franchisor is able to bring on board, and the quality of support that they're able to provide as well to the franchise partners that come on board.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it is speed, but not compromising on the structure.
Yeah, well, like I think there's different ways you look at it, right? So obviously, let's pretend you're a race car driver, and so the race car driver wants to win the race. Now, if you go too fast, you will crash and you will lose the race. But if you go too slow, you will also lose the race. So what you need to do is you have to go enough speed, but not too fast, but not too slow. And you need to make sure you're able to take the turns correctly. Otherwise, if you spin out, you'll lose time and you'll take a bit of time to recover. So that is exactly how I feel running success tutoring. It's like being a race car driver. You've got to make sure that you've also got just enough speed, but not too fast, but also enough opportunity to be able to win the race. Because if you go too slow, go to market strategy is very important. We run a very unique business model. We want to make sure that we expand into those key markets and continue to grow. I believe this wholeheartedly, and I think a lot of people agree with me. Time is very precious. We only have limited time on this earth to make an impact. And there's so much more that I believe we can build with success tutoring and empowering students. We're not just about teaching students about English or maths. We're here to motivate, inspire, and uplift them. We want them to feel empowered and that they can achieve whatever they put their mind towards. So we're on a mission. Basically, we're on a mission to motivate students to reach their full potential. And that's why we're going fast, because we want to impact the students and we want to impact franchise partners, not just in Australia, but on a global scale as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think this creates such a huge difference. And also, Michael, let's push on a tough one here. Like when an education franchise grows this, and it's kind of a going back to the pushbacks, in terms of ed tech and profits. Um, like the critics will say, this is how you end up with a franchise mill and a cookie cutter experience. Um, so where do those critics have a point? Like, what real risks come with scaling an education brand this aggressively?
Well, well, basically, if you go into anyone goes and looks at the dictionary and looks at the definition of franchising, they will realize that there'd be very, very synonyms around the words of a cookie cutter. Because the thing about franchising is actually a very beautiful thing, because what it does is it allows people, everyday people that may not necessarily go into business, have the opportunity to go into business with a proven model that works. Okay. It doesn't guarantee success. Franchising doesn't guarantee success, but it improves the chances of success. And what it does is it allows people to run a business. And, when I started Success Tutoring, I made so many mistakes, and I still make mistakes today. And the thing about franchising is it allows the franchise partners to use a proven model that works. Now, some people might call it cookie cutter approach. Other people might call it systems, processes, knowledge from almost 10 years of running a business. But it's actually a growth strategy. Franchising. So for some people that want to start a tutoring business or any business of that matter, will go into franchising because it's a growth strategy. It allows them to have a compass when going into business. Like franchising doesn't guarantee success, but what it does is it's like giving someone a map and a compass to know where to go. It doesn't take them there, but it gives them a sense of direction of what to focus on. Because a lot of people, when they go into business, there's a million things that they have to focus on, and they don't know what to focus on. Because with franchising, they can know what buttons to push, which levers to pull, which areas to focus on, and they can also learn from other franchise partners that are in the same boat as them. So, franchising, a good franchise, is in one way or another cookie cutter approach. But one thing to always remember, and this is something that I have learned while being in franchising, is that every community, every state, every country is different. And
Mm.
you can have the same business model, but like town, every city is different. Like there is never two cities or two towns the same. It doesn't matter where you go, in Australia or New Zealand or the United States, everywhere is different. So The support that we provide franchise partners is not cookie cutter. Yes, we do have processes and systems in place to be able to provide them with that support, but it's actually unique, and it's unique to the location that they operate in.
That 100% makes sense. 100% makes sense, Michael. Yeah. It is standardized, but then it has to be improvised. It has to be tweaked and fine-tuned based on not even the city, but town to town. Because, I mean, everywhere the customers or the students, they are different. And whether it's communicating or understanding the pulse and in a way how they can be actually the how we can get the best output or efficiency, it is different. So definitely it is not cookie cutter. Great. So Michael, before we wrap up, one final question to you. In education and tutoring, we are seeing that there is still um, a demand. There are a lot of people who are looking to invest. I mean, when you choose new franchisees, what are the non-negotiables that you see, like beyond capital?
Well, I think the intention behind starting the business. So,
Mm.
a lot of people like they go into business with the wrong intention. A lot of our franchise partners they go into business because they're passionate about education. They want to make a difference, and the money comes after. When I started tutoring, I didn't think of I didn't think of the money. The money came after. Like the first customer that signed up when I was tutoring, I only charged them $35 for a one-on-one session. And these days we charge much higher, about 80 for a one-on-one, but most of our centers don't do one-on-one actually. They do a group membership model of tutoring. But what I mean to say is money comes after you provide value. So um, the most important thing and most important principle in business, and this is what I share to everybody, is that you need to provide value before you can expect something in return. And when we speak to franchise partners, we want to hear that the reason why they go into business is to contribute to their community, provide good results to the kids, and really provide a meaningful impact for families in their community rather than aiming for the monetary reward. The monetary reward always comes, but that should not be the aim. That's a outcome that comes as a result of the work that they put in.
Exactly. And this is so much, relevant, especially like if we see education or tutoring as an industry here. We definitely have explored customer obsession, but I think trust here, I think it has to meet an altogether different level here because, we are as a tutor who is also managing a business here, trying to create a brand here, I'm also responsible for building, the future of so many students out there. And there are families who are dependent on that. So I think it becomes more and more important to make sure that the value comes first. The monetary aspect will anyway come later.
Yeah, exactly. That's any principle in life, I believe, is the more you give, the more you receive. And you should always give without expecting anything in return. And good things do happen. So that's what we focus on, providing the value and then the monetary reward comes after that.
Super, super. So, Michael, before we wrap up, if our global listeners they would also like to explore, they would like to connect with you, and they would also like to, get access to your book, Millionaire Tutor, and also explore more about success tutoring. What would be the best way?
Well, the book is available on Amazon. It's Millionaire Tutor. I also have a website called millionairetutorbook.com. The book is black, and it has a picture of me, so you can't miss it, and the writing is in orange. So it's very, very easy to identify, actually. So they can grab a copy, and read that. If they're interested in learning more about our franchise opportunity, they can just simply search up on Google, successtutoringfranchise.com. We have a website, which is the successtutoringfranchise.com website. You can find it on Google. They can search it on ChatGPT if they like, or they can find it anywhere. But that's where they can find it.
Super, super. You know what, listeners? I'm going to have all the details and links in the show notes for all of you. So just refer to them along with this episode on whichever platform you listen to your podcast to. And, if I have to conclude this, I think we talked about global expansion, franchise models, playbooks. But one thing which I personally, really felt is there was a 17-year-old who believed one thing. If you change how a young person feels about learning, you change their life trajectory. The franchise is just the distribution system for that belief. And Michael showed us that fast growing is not a vibe, it is structure. It is saying not no to the wrong practices and partners. It is admitting when quality slips. It is building systems so reliable that you can plug them into a new country or a city or a town without losing the heart of the work. So, Michael, first of all, thank you so much for being real about the wins and the trade offs. So, yeah, this was really, really inspiring.
Thank you so much for having me.
And to all the listeners, to our Bizmen community, if this episode sparked ideas or uncomfortable truths, good. That means it is working. Until next time, I'm Sana. This is BizBlend. We'll see you in the next episode where we keep pulling back the curtain on what building a business really takes. Thank you.